The Holy Grail is the largest collection of data, historic data, recent data that you can query and filter on anywhere on the website. And it's broken down into five different tabs: tournament, round, season, stats, and course horse. We'll start with the tournament tab. And what you're seeing at the top is an aggregation of whatever filters that you have set, and then what you're seeing on the bottom half of the screen are the game logs that are associated with those results. You can interact with this. So, for example, if you click on Ben Griffin's row at the top in the aggregation, it will show you only Ben Griffin's results down on the game logs section of this. If you drop down the filters, this is where you can really just choose what you want to see. Maybe you only want to see specific fields or you want to add specific years. Anytime you get an opportunity to select multiple items, if you hold control on your Windows computer or command on your Mac computer, it allows you to select multiples. And you can filter this by year, course, golfer, architect, rough length. I mean, just a lot of different items. So, for example, if you wanted to say, give me, so what do I have in here? The last 3 years dating back to 2003, results at Bay Hill. You could then close the filters and you might see this at first. This is a little bit confusing at first because the top of the aggregation box has a minimum number of starts, which is helpful for a lot of different reasons, but you might have to lower it depending what your query is to be able to see everything. And if you want to see everything, you can just set it to a minimum of one start. Or if you want to see guys that have played, at least three times in the last 3 years, you can do that as well. So the minimum starts is powerful, allows you to sort out a lot of the, smaller sample size data if you wanted to, but just keep in mind that that's there because it might answer some questions for you. If you only want to see major championships, if you only want to see winners of major championships, you could check both of these boxes and close the filter. I have a field set here. If I get rid of that field, here's all your major championship winners, the courses they played at, how many starts they have, finishing position, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, really, really interesting, powerful way to look at specific tournaments. Rounds is basically set up the same way. Aggregation at the top, depending on what your filters are. Now it's a minimum number of rounds instead of a minimum number of starts. And when you drill into a specific player for the logs, you'll notice that the logs also include are now broken down by round data as opposed to just tournament data. So for the Pro Court Championship for Ben Griffin, all four of his rounds exist here: 1, 2, 3, and 4. So just another layer of being able to drill into the data. The filters are nearly identical. What you will see added more recently is both the wind and preferred lies. So if there was an event that was played with preferred lies, you can check that and see just those results. And the wind data is coming from the radar shot link on the golf course. So it's as accurate as it's going to be at the time the shot was hit, and you can sort by or filter by that win data as well. So pretty straightforward for tournament and round. They work very similarly. Season is a newer aggregation. So if you wanted to see how golfers have played over the course of a specific year, so maybe I want to see every season from Tiger Woods since 1997. You could put Tiger in, go, adjusted the years from 1997 and say, what were his best seasons in terms of strokes gained total, and they'd be right here, right? 2000, no surprise. 3.84, 9 wins, 23 starts, his win percentage, top 5 percentage, all that fun stuff. If you click majors, you can see only his major championship results. You could do this for any number of players, any number of seasons. So for example, if you wanted to get rid of Tiger and say what was the best season by anybody between 1997 and 2025, and then this is where the minimum starts really begins to help you because you're going to see guys who have strokes gain numbers, but it's only one start. Michael Brennan in 2025 as of right now, as of recording this. So you say, okay, well, I want a minimum of, 15 starts. Who's had the best year? And I'm sure it's going to be a ton of Tiger years, but here's Scotty Scheffler in 2025. Here's Scotty Scheffler in 2024. I like having the age on here as well, which I think is fun. Just shows you, this is Tiger Woods' 24-year-old season. I do this the same way that they do it in baseball to figure out what your season age is, and it's basically how old were you on June 30th. That is the way that baseball does it. It is the way that I calculate that as well. So if there's any confusion, you're like, wait a minute, well, Tiger's birthday is at the end of the year. It's in December. Yeah, I know. It's his age on June 30th, which is kind of the industry standard across the board. And then similar to the other, the other tabs, you could click into a specific season, and the bottom of the half of that will show you the logs. Not all of this data is available for every event. So like obviously the strokes gain breakdown from 1986 on the PGA Tour is not going to exist. The shot link era is 2004 on, but it will have strokes gain total. It'll have finishing positions. If you add in other tours as well, it's just whatever data is available is going to be there, not necessarily always going to be full strokes gain breakdown for every single season, but you get the idea. There are literally hundreds, it's a million rounds, over a million rounds coming into this just for guys who had 15 minimum starts, right? So it's a lot of data in this tab as well. And then stats looks a little bit different. So this is coming from the PGA Tour stats. So it's broken down into off the tee numbers, approach, around the green, putting, and scoring. So this is a lot more in depth than it used to be. So you could, if you wanted to say, hey, I want to see who the best guys are at avoiding three putts from 10 to 15 feet. You click that, and keep in mind, you can only select one of these slicers at a time. So you would have to get rid of ball speed, or you could clear all the slicers and just click whichever one that you want. And you could see the results for your golfers, tour average, what the stat is, if they're currently in a field. If you only want qualified players, so to be a qualified player, you have to have a specific number of rounds for a sample size. And you can look at this for a couple of different seasons. So a couple of use cases for this, would be as follows. Hey, I want to see the guys that hit it the highest. Let me look at apex height and be able to see those golfers for only 2025 who are qualified. And you'll see that there is a description, highest point in feet and inches of the shot relative to the tee on a par 4 and a par 5. And it has to be radar measured. So you're seeing tour average is 103. Ricky Fowler hits it the highest, 131 feet. Frankie Sappin as well. So they just absolutely nuke it very, very high. If you continue to scroll down, you'll see guys that, hit it much lower than that. The other thing that you could do is you could choose to look at a golfer in his entirety. So you could choose Scotty Scheffler and then see all of Scotty Scheffler's rankings and values in these stat categories. It might take a second. As you saw, there's literally millions of rows of data in here, so it might take a second to load. But here it is. All of his stat. I mean, he ranks first in like a ton of stats, but you'd be able to go through here and see just Scotty Scheffler, how he does in each one of these statistics. And then if you did want to look at only specific things for Scotty, you can again hold control on a PC or command on a Mac and select multiple items. So you could say, I want Scotty's apex height, his approaches from 200 to 225. I want his proximity to the hole from the rough and sand and consecutive sand saves. And like, I want all this stuff for Scotty. And you'll start to see those appear here. So, finally, that leaves us with the course horse tool, which is something that I built kind of just for myself a couple of years ago, and people started to like it. So this is kind of what it sounds like. Best golfer course combinations. So now you've got the breakdown of every golfer, but now at every course. So you could conceivably say, give me any time frame. Right now I have it set up to go back to 2022. I could get rid of the field that's loaded in this week. Or I could say, give me the field for this week and then also give me the golf course for this week, which would be El Cardinal. And you're not going to have, let's see here, you're not going to have anybody who has 5 minimum starts, but you would have 2 starts. So here are the results for El Cardinal for players who are in this field. You could also get rid of the field and say, give me the best players at Quail Hollow, for example. And now you're going to see Rory McIlroy in his 14 starts. You're going to see Aaron Wise only has 3. Bryson DeChambeau has 5. What you could also do is, again, change the minimum starts. So now, hey, best players at Quail Hollow with at least 10 starts. Here's Rory. Here's his finishes. You could also get rid of the course in general and say, okay, well, just give me Scotty. I'm going to have to update the minimum starts here because he probably doesn't have 10 starts anywhere, but update it to 3 minimum starts. And now what it's going to do is it's going to spit out Scotty Scheffler at all of his potential courses: Muirfield Village, Albany, Augusta National. Again, if you click them in the aggregation section, you get the results down at the bottom. Really helpful for not only addressing a specific field for a specific course, but also one and done. Where would you want to use Scotty? Maybe Scotty's a bad example because he's so usable everywhere, but let's say Colin Morikawa. And what you'll find, places that he's got at least 3 minimum starts, I think you're going to see a couple spots where he's really, really good and a couple spots where he's not. So Muirfield Village, Torrey Pines, Kapalua, he's been great. Probably want to avoid him at the Renaissance Club or TPC River Highlands or East Lake or Quail Hollow. These are places that he's historically struggled at. So also really good as a one and done tool as well. So a lot of different things, a lot of different data. My goal was to just make this so that you could kind of filter a query, whatever you were looking for, and have access to the data pretty reasonably. A ton of data flows into this, so give it a second. If something's spinning, just like give it a second. But otherwise, pretty powerful tool that I really enjoy.